Skulk sensors are a unique block that make a number of otherwise impossible things possible. They can be found on the ground in deep darks and ancient cities, as well as in chests in ancient cities. For a more sustainable source, new sensors can occasionally be created by a skulk catalyst when something dies near it. Getting to the sensors themselves, they are transparent and cannot be moved by pistons. When a sensor is placed, most things that happen within an 8 block radius of the sensor will cause a vibration that travels to the sensor. When this vibration reaches the sensor, it triggers and emits a redstone signal. This signal lasts for 1.5 seconds, activating all the blocks next to the sensor and strongly powering the block below. Any signal emitted from a sensor will have its strength be based on the distance to the source of the vibration, with vibrations made closer to a skulk sensor leading to a higher signal output. Once this signal runs out, the sensor has to wait an extra half second before it can hear another vibration, not including the time it takes for the vibration to actually travel to the sensor. To limit where your sensor can hear things from, you can make use of wool. If a wool block is between a vibration source and a sensor, the sensor won't pick up on the vibration. Wool's noise canceling abilities don't end here, though. You can break and place both wool and carpets, as well as land on them and shoot projectiles into them without making vibrations. This is all especially helpful when looting an ancient city, because in order to avoid spawning the warden, you need to stop making noises. This can also come in handy when you're designing contraptions with skulk sensors. As an example, pistons are able to trigger skulk sensors, so if you want to build a piston door activated by a skulk sensor, it might be a good idea to separate the pistons from the sensor, making use of wool to prevent unintended triggers. Another way to limit your sensor is to check the source of the vibration. There are two major ways to do this, but the bigger and more useful one ties in nicely with other stuff I have to talk about, so I'll talk about the less useful one quickly. As any ancient city will show you, a skulk sensor is able to pass on vibrations to nearby skulk shriekers, but only if that vibration was made by a player. To use this for Redstone, you can point an observer at the shrieker to sense when it starts or stops yelling at you. This overall has limited use cases, in my opinion, but I do want to highlight Tango Tech's use of this technique during Hermitcraft Season 9 in his difficult to call it a minigame, so in his game, Decked Out 2. I would say more about it, but I haven't actually seen the Redstone, and even if I did, I doubt I would be able to comprehend it very much, so casual channel plug to Tango Tech. Go check that guy out. While I'm talking about niche features that have cool potential, I'd like to bring up amethyst resonance. When a sensor gets triggered, if one of the blocks directly surrounding it is an amethyst block, that block will resonate and re-emit that vibration for other sensors to hear at the same frequency. I'll talk about frequency later, just bear with me. I don't have much of a practical reason to think this is cool. I just like it. It gives good vibes to me. It can be used to make redstone lines without redstone dust, I guess, but because of the vibration travel time, it ends up being slower than a regular redstone line. It is able to carry some data using signal strength and frequency, though, which can probably come in handy for more complicated things that I can't think of right now. At the moment, it's just completely vibes. I think it's cool. This isn't the only functionality Amethyst has with skulk sensors, though. If you combine a skulk sensor and a crafting table with 3 amethyst shards, you can get a calibrated skulk sensor. Calibrating a skulk sensor like this changes a few of its qualities. Its range increases to 16 blocks, it only stays triggered for half a second instead of 1.5, and it doesn't output any power to the side with an amethyst stripe on it. That's because this side acts as an input instead of an output, allowing you another way to filter what a sensor can hear. This method makes use of arguably a skulk sensor's most useful feature, vibration frequencies, so it's time for me to actually talk about that. Every vibration that a skulk sensor can pick up falls into a category, and each of these categories is assigned a signal strength from 1 to 15. The signal strength associated with each type of vibration is called its frequency, These frequencies can be accessed by pulling a comparator output from either type of sensor. The output of this comparator will be the frequency of whatever vibration triggered the sensor, while the sensor itself will still emit an output based on the distance to the source. Frequencies are especially important to calibrated skulk sensors because you can input a redstone signal into the side with the amethyst stripe, and if the signal strength is anything other than 0, the calibrated sensor will only respond to vibrations that match the frequency of that signal's strength. As an example, if I put a signal with a strength of 8 into a calibrated sensor, it'll only respond to vibrations that have a frequency of 8, being entities eating and drinking. Obviously, this whole frequency system has plenty of uses, but if you're still confused as to what a skulk sensor is actually able to react to, or if you want to know what all the frequencies correspond to in terms of vibrations, then you're in luck. I'm about to list all that stuff off. If you don't want to listen to that, feel free to leave here. As I've done in the past, this is an honorary end of the video for anyone tired of my yapping. For anyone sticking around, I really do appreciate it, considering how tedious this can be for both of us. So to reduce the tedium just a little bit, let's hop in right now. For frequency level 1, or signal strength 1, you have entities taking steps, entities swimming, and boats paddling, and entities flapping. I'm going to specify early on here that players do count as entities, so player footsteps and player swimming fall under this category. The final one here, flapping, is mostly used for like bats and parrots, but chickens do this while they're falling, so that counts too. For frequency level 2, you have projectiles landing, like arrows or snowballs. You have any entity hitting the ground after falling some distance. And you have splashing. So, like splashing at the top of water, or entering water, or entering bubble columns also goes here too. For frequency level 3, you have item interaction finishing, like spyglasses and shields and bone meals. Whenever you finish interacting with that, this will sound off. You also have projectiles shooting. Again, projectiles, arrows, snowballs, fireworks also count here. And finally, in 3, you have goat horns playing. I would expect this to be louder, but I guess it's only vibration 3. For 4, you have the generic entity action. Basically, this is a catch-all for a bunch of stuff, like Ravagers roaring, villagers grabbing something and holding it out for you, sniffers digging something up, and a whole ton of other stuff. You also have elytra gliding from a player, and you have armor being unequipped from any slot or any stand. This includes removing armor or carpets from mounts, including with shears, and it does not actually count if you shift click it out of a slot. You need to like actually pull it. Somewhat related, we have 5 with equipping armor. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's equipping armor will sound off frequency of 5. Also in 5, you have dismount, which is when a player gets off of a mount of some sort, like llamas or horses or donkeys or what have you. Continuing on with related things, in frequency 6, you have a player mounting a rideable mob. Again, similar to dismount, but instead you're getting on instead of getting off. Also in 6, you have entity interactions, which is just a player interacting with an entity, breeding and equipping llamas with chests, what have you. And you also have shearing a mob, like sheep, bogs, mushrooms, what have you. I don't know if a llama carpet being removed with shears counts as this or an entity interaction, but either way, it's a frequency 6, so it doesn't really make a difference. Now, frequency 7 is pretty simple. It only has one thing in it, and that's an entity taking damage. I don't think I need to explain what an entity taking damage is. Now for frequency 8, you've got an entity drinking or eating. This actually isn't just the player. In case you forgot, wandering traders can drink invisibility potions and milk, and I can't remember anything eating off the top of my head other than like animals breeding, but there's probably something in there. On to frequency 9, you have containers closing, like chests, barrels. The wiki lists hoppers, but I didn't get that, so I don't know. But supposedly that works. You also have blocks closing, like doors at trapdoors or fence gates, and blocks deactivating, like pistons, levers, buttons. And you've also got one for tripwires specifically detaching. If you move up a step to frequency 10, you see the opposites of a lot of stuff, like containers opening, blocks activating, tripwires attaching. And you also have TNT or creepers priming their fuses. And you also finally have note blocks playing their note. Number 11, another quick one, it's just a block change. Blocks changing. This accounts for a lot of things, like chiseled bookshelves, decorated pots, composters, lecterns. I can't list it all, just experiment, look at the wiki, something. I'm reading all this off the wiki, so if I'm explaining something poorly, either look there or look to the game itself. Frequency 12 has blocks being destroyed and fluids being picked up. This includes honey and water bottles and powder snow. And frequency 13 has blocks being placed and fluids being placed. This one does not count honey because you need to turn it into a block to place it, but it does count water bottles into a cauldron. So that is something, I guess. For frequency 14, you've got entities being placed. This is just artificial entity spawns, like spawn eggs, spawners, evokers doing whatever they're doing. You've got lightning strikes. I really don't think I need to explain this one at all. It's just lightning striking. And you've got various forms of teleportation. Apparently, ender pearls don't count for this in my testing. I don't understand. It counts for projectiles being shot and landing, but it doesn't count for teleportation, despite being the main form of teleportation. I'm upset about this. I don't understand it. Moving on to the final frequency, 15, you've got entities dying. This one's mostly self-explanatory, but it also includes fireworks finishing their flight path. And for the final thing I have to say, for frequency 15, you have explosions. You won't believe what counts for an explosion. You see, it's an explosion. And there we go. Skulk sensors covered in their entirety. Unless I missed something or explained something poorly, in which case I would definitely like to know in the comments. I'll keep the rest of the plug short, don't worry. Like if I did a good job, and subscribe if you want to see what else I have in store. That's it. This is possibly my longest video yet. I don't know how it'll turn out in editing, but considering the sheer amount of stuff there is to say about these goofy little things, from wool occlusion to amethyst resonance, that's the word, to calibrated skulk sensors and their differences, there's just a ton of stuff. It's not too surprising how long this is. Because of that, I'm very thankful for anyone still sticking around and watching. I know my videos aren't exactly perfect, but I'm doing what I can, and I really do appreciate you spending your time watching me yap. Hopefully you learned something, and as always, have fun doing some redstone.